going on, Z Nation? This is Ramsey here, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at all of the weapons in Apex Legends. We'll be taking a look at the gun from many different aspects. That way you can decide what is the best loadout for you throughout the game. Now, starting with the assault rifles, we'll jump right into the VK-47 flatline. I won't be going over any attachments that are found in the game. I'll probably leave that for another video. Drop a comment, let me know if you guys want to see that one. Now, I'll be putting the stats for each weapon in the top right corner. Now, as you can see, based on the stats for the flatline, this gun has a DPS of 160. Now, some of the pros for the flatline is that it has a double headshot multiplier. That means every headshot does double the base damage. That's each hit for 32 damage. It also has a decent magazine capacity at 20, and that makes this gun extremely good at close to medium range. Now, some of the cons with this gun is that it has a large recoil, as you can see from the video. Also, it has poor accuracy, especially at long range. Although some of that can be fixed with a scope, this gun is best used at medium to short range. Now moving on to the Hemlock Burst AR. This gun's unique in that it can be toggled in between single and 3-round burst firing modes. Now the Hemlock is capable of doing a DPS of 147. Now some of the pros for this gun are that it has a high accuracy and a high burst damage. Unlike the VK-47, the bullets don't stray too far from where you're aiming. Now some of the cons for this gun are that it has a low overall rate of fire. Not only that, the headshot multiplier is only 1.25 times, so you get less bang for your buck on headshots. Those combined, this is a poor gun for close range quarters. This is more of a medium to long range gun. Now, moving over to my personal favorite assault rifle, the R301 Carbine is able to switch between single and automatic firing modes. The R301 has a DPS of 168. Now, one caveat with this weapon is that if you aren't good at aiming, you are punished for hitting, say, legs. A leg hit with the R301 only does 11 damage in comparison to its 14 base damage. Now, some of the pros with the R301 is that it has high accuracy, double headshot multiplier, it has a high rate of fire. Therefore, this gun is basically good at close, medium, and long range distances. The only cons really are that it has really low damage per bullet. 14 damage is not that much, which means you have to be extremely accurate with your shots. Also with the R301, it has a low magazine capacity, so you run out relatively quick. Now next we're going to jump into the submachine guns and take a look at the alternator. This gun is basically just a miniature R301. It has a DPS of 138.7. Now, like the R301, you also have a damage reduction when hitting legs. The pros to this gun is it has a high reload speed. However, a lot of the cons are it's extremely inaccurate at longer distances. It has this very small magazine capacity, and its headshot multiplier is only 1.46. Also, the base model of this gun has a really high recoil, making this gun pretty difficult to be accurate with. Next, let's check out the R99, many players' favorite gun. Now this gun has a whopping 216 DPS, thanks to its high rate of fire of 1,080 rounds per minute. Another pro to this gun, besides its high rate of fire, is that it has a larger magazine capacity than the alternator does. Now, some of the cons for this gun are that it only does 1.5 times base damage to headshots. Another con is that it has an extreme recoil. I mean, this gun shoots way up, and it's inaccurate at very long distances. So this is more of a close to medium quarters gun. Next, we'll take a look at the last submachine gun, the Prowler. Prowler has a DPS of 186.7. Now, the unique thing about this weapon is that it has a 5-round burst. Now, there is an attachment in the game to make it automatic if that's more your thing. But like I said, I'm going to be going over the base model throughout this video. Now, some of the pros for the Prowler is that it has a lot larger of a magazine capacity compared to the other submachine guns. One of the big differences between this and the other submachine guns is that this uses heavy rounds while the others use light. Now, that doesn't make too much of a difference, but it comes into play when you're thinking about what type of weapon composition you want to come up with throughout the game. And the cons with this are the same as the other submachine guns. It has a really high recoil rate, and it's inaccurate at long distances. Next, we're going to jump over to the light machine guns, one of my favorite categories. First up, we'll be looking at the Devotion. Devotion has a bone-crushing DPS of 255. Now, there's a caveat to that. This gun's rate of fire speeds up as you hold down the trigger. That could be a good thing if you're out in the open, or it could be a bad thing if you're fighting at close quarters, as the enemy could just run behind a wall or hide behind a rock. There is, however, a hop-up in the game that speeds up how fast it starts shooting. Another con for this gun is that it uses energy ammo. Now, there's only 2 guns in the game that use energy ammo, so it is kind of scarce to find that type. One of the pros to this weapon is that while aiming down the sights, it has very little recoil. Now there is a lot of recoil if you're not aiming down the sights. Now the longer you hold the trigger, the greater the spread between the bullets will be. It slowly begins losing its accuracy. Next, we'll take a look at the M600 Spitfire, the only other light machine gun. Now, this weapon has a DPS of 170.7, and I'll be honest, this is one of the weapons I use when I play. Pros for this weapon is it has an extremely high base damage, and it has a double multiplier for headshots. That means 40 damage per headshot. This gun is also extremely accurate when aiming down the sights. Another big pro for this gun is it has very little recoil. Now, being as unbiased as I can, since I use this in short to medium range encounters, this is not a short range weapon. One of the biggest cons I have with this weapon is the reload time. I mean, it is fast for the type of gun it is, but in comparison to the submachine guns, it's a little slower. Next, we'll jump into most people's favorites, the sniper rifles. We'll start off with the G7 Scout. Now, because we're jumping into sniper rifles, I'm going to go over the base DPS as well as the headshot DPS. Starting with the G7 Scout, which has a DPS of 136.5 and a headshot DPS of 273. They sound like a lot, but in reference to the other sniper rifles, this one's kind of on the lower end. Although, it does have the highest rate of fire for sniper rifles. Another pro for the G7 Scout is that it has a 10 magazine capacity. Now, this is higher than any other sniper rifle by double. The cons to the G7 Scout is that it's just not enough damage. Unless you're popping off and hitting headshots every time, then you're better off just going with a light machine gun, as they output the same amount of damage. Now, moving on, next we'll check out the longbow. My personal favorite sniper rifle has a DPS of 78.8 and a headshot DPS of 157.7. However, with headshot damage at 110, you basically hit them once or twice and they're down. This sniper rifle has the second highest headshot damage of all sniper rifles. And with a decent rate of fire, this gun is pretty effective. Now the cons for the longbow are the reload time. As you can see, it takes a while to reload each magazine, and each magazine is only 5 bullets. Now remember, each sniper rifle has a different type of ammo. In the longbow's case, it's running heavy rounds. The G7 was running light. Next, we'll take a look at an interesting sniper rifle, the triple take. Now as you can see, there's multiple DPSs I have right here for this one, and that's because it shoots 3 bullets at a time. So if you can hit all 3 bullets on the head, you'll do 202.4 damage per second. If you only hit 1, you'll do 67.5. A big pro with this gun is if you're slightly off the mark a little bit, it gives you a little buffer room. It's extremely helpful when trying to aim at targets that are jumping around or running across the screen. As with the reload time and the rounds per minute, it's essentially the same as the longbow. So the cons for this gun are that to keep up with the longbow, you basically have to hit all 3 shots that you're shooting at once. And that is extremely difficult with this gun. Again, like the Devotion, those are the only 2 weapons that use energy ammo. And like I said, it's not as abundant the other types of ammos, so you do run into a problem of ammunition. Also, no scoping with this gun is pretty much impossible. It's inaccurate, it goes all over the place, it's different every time you shoot. So there won't be any no scoping with this gun. Next, we're going to take a look at the Kraber 50 caliber sniper rifle. Now, DPS doesn't even really matter with this gun because the headshot damage is 250. You hit somebody and they're gone. However, the thing with this gun is that it's a legendary. You only get it from airdrops and there's no ammunition. You get the 8 bullets it comes with. Therefore, you better make all 8 of them count. Now the pros with this gun is that it's a legendary. It comes fully loaded. The scope on it, the best in the game. Now, there are a lot of drawbacks to this gun. One, it uses that special ammo, so you can't find it anywhere else. 8 shots, and it's gone. Next, it's a bolt action, so you have to reload the chamber after every shot. Also, like the triple take, no scoping is sporadic. It's unpredictable. You don't know where the bullet's going. So in other words, don't attempt it, because you don't have enough ammo. However, in the right hands, this is how quickly you could take out an entire squad. Done. Next, we'll be taking a look at the shotguns. Now, starting off with the EVA 8 Auto. Now, DPS doesn't really matter for shotguns either. This is more for that instant hit, like the sniper rifles were. So looking at the EVA 8 auto, you're more concerned about hitting each pellet. Now the EVA 8 auto shoots 9 pellets in the shape of a figure 8. Therefore, one of the cons to this gun is that most of the pellets are located on the outside of the circle. That means it's harder to land every pellet on the person. On the flip side of that though, it is an automatic and it reloads extremely fast for a shotgun. Honestly, this shotgun just doesn't have the damage output that I want to see from a shotgun. However, it does have its place and uses. Next, we'll be looking at what I believe to be everybody's favorite shotgun, the Peacekeeper. The Peacekeeper is a lever action clip fed shotgun that fires 11 pellets in the shape of a star. Now the great thing about this in comparison to say the EVA 8 auto is that a star is more concentrated in the center. Therefore the pellets are going to hit the body more than say the figure 8 that the EVA 8 auto does. The star is more in the shape of a human body. You have the arms and the legs. The great thing about the Peacekeeper too is it hits for a ton. If you land every pellet, it's 110 damage. That almost one-hits somebody. The con about the Peacekeeper though is that it is a lever action. You have to pump the shotgun after every shot, and this takes a lot of time out of it. And as if that wasn't enough, the reload speed on this shotgun is extremely slow. Now next, we'll be taking a look at a Mastiff. Now the Mastiff is a special shotgun that's a legendary. It's a semi-automatic tube-fed shotgun that fires 8 pellets in the shape of a horizontal line. Now this is probably the most dangerous gun in the game. It pumps out a lot of damage. Now, just like the sniper rifle we went over earlier, this is a legendary, so what you get for ammo is what you have the rest of the game. See from the video, I could take out 3 targets with 1 hit because of the horizontal spread. And it still hits the center target for 90 damage. If you want to concentrate the pellets, you can actually aim and it'll center all of the pellets. As you can see now, I can aim at 1 target and it pumps out 144 damage per hit. And that's not even the most insane part about this shotgun. One of the craziest things about it, it holds its damage in distance. Now watch me aim at some of these targets in the background. Some of these are around 180 meters away. And watch how much damage it's doing. It's still hitting for 72 on that center target. Literally, the only con about this gun is you have limited ammo. That's it. Next, we're looking at the final shotgun, the Mozambique. Now this shotgun is a triple barrel shotgun pistol. It fires 3 pellets, 1 from each barrel, in the shape of a triangle. The thing you have to remember while using this weapon is that the top of the triangle is where you're aiming at. So the bottom 2 will be separated. One of the only pros about this gun is that it has a higher firing rate than all the other shotguns. Also, it has a quicker reload speed. Because the biggest con for this gun is that the triangle just isn't in the correct shape to hit anything really. And it's so spread out that the pellets, you maybe hit 1, maybe 2. For this gun really to be effective in the game, you really need to be just shoving it into somebody. In my opinion, I think this gun needs a rework. Now for the last category, we'll be looking at the pistols. The first pistol up is the P2020. Now this pistol is a semi-automatic with a rate fire of 430 rounds per minute. Now some of the pros with this gun is that it can reload extremely fast. It can also fire at an extremely fast rate. Now with the amount of damage that this thing puts out, you're not going to down a whole lot of people. This is more to just put pressure on somebody and maybe try to flush them out of their hiding spot. It is extremely accurate, like all of the pistols, even when not aiming down the sights. And this gun does have a really low recoil rate. You don't really feel the gun start to rise when you're shooting it. Next, we'll take a look at the RE45. Now this pistol is fully automatic, so it has a higher DPS at 119.2. However, the headshot multiplier for this weapon is only 1.45, slightly less than the 1.5 of that of the P2020. Now this, like other pistols, is extremely accurate. However, a lot of the drawbacks to this gun is that it has a small clip for being automatic. 15 rounds is just not enough for its rate of fire. If you use this gun, you're going to be reloading a lot. Luckily, the reload rate is extremely fast as well. This gun also holds its accuracy over very long distances. However, this still isn't the type of gun I want to go into a gunfight with. Lastly, we have my personal favorite pistol, the Wingman. Now this is like carrying a miniature sniper rifle. DPS for this gun is 153.8. It also has a damage multiplier of 2 times for headshots. That gives this pistol a 3 headshot potential on someone with full armor, or 2 shots with a skull piercer rifting attachment. If you can reliably land headshots, this is a great close to mid-range weapon for you. Now it is a revolver, so it only carries 6 bullets, but it has an extremely fast reload speed. And that about does it, guys. That wraps up every weapon in the game. If you want to know my loadout, I usually go with the M600 Spitfire and the longbow. If I can't find the M600, then I go with this wingman. I hope this in-depth guide helped you guys and helped you figure out what kind of a loadout y'all want to go with. If you have any remarks or you want to see something else, don't forget to drop a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later, Z Nation.